That's the warning. The warning. That's the warning. Broadcast on. We are live. Just waiting on Councilmember Clevenger. All right, going to call this meeting to order. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Roberts.
Here.
Councilmember Clark.
Here.
Councilmember Palumbi.
Here.
Councilmember Graves.
Here.
Councilmember Saper.
Here.
Councilmember Tull.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
I'm here.
Councilmember Clevenger.
For a little bit.
He's just got to say something funny on his way out. No. Full house. Clevenger, please lead us in the pledge this evening.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Next up, we have the approval of the agenda, in which I'm going to start with a modification myself here. Should have had the number on the first page. Removing 14 and moving it to the regular agenda. Further amendments to the agenda.
Move to approve.
Wait a minute. Brian, I didn't hear what you said. What
I
did
am
you-
removing number 14 from the consent. Did I get it right?
Yeah. 15. It's the Screenland one.
Whoa, 15.
No, that's on the-
14. I had it. Yeah, 14. 14 is being removed from the consent agenda and move to the first item on the regular agenda. And I have others. Councilmember Saper.
Yeah, I would like to. Oops, thank you for that. I'd like to pull 17, 18, 19, and 20.
We will pull 17, 18, 19, and 20 as well. Councilmember Graves.
Go ahead and pull item 10 for discussion too, please.
And
Item number 10.
item 14 has been taken off?
We have 10, 14, 17, 18, 19, and 20.
Okay.
We're running thin here. Anybody Arbor Day? No? Okay. Arbor Day's safe.
Can we skip thanking Zach?
Is there a motion to approve the amended consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. The next item is, back to Crystal.
Oh, number 6, approval of the work session minutes from
Public
April
comments.
6, 2022.
Oh, I skipped one. Comments from the public.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Are there any comments from the public this evening? Gone. Crystal, please.
Number 6, approval of the work session minutes from April 6, 2022. We have to do this way because of the change.
Oh,
So
yeah, okay.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Number 7, approval of regular council meeting minutes from April 6, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Number 8, declaring the results of the city's general election held in the city of North Kansas City, Missouri on April 5th, 2022. Bill number 7678, ordinance number 9475.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. First reading.
An ordinance declaring the results of the city's general election held in the city of North Kansas City, Missouri on April 5th, 2022.
I move that bill number 7678 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9475.
Call the roll.
Second.
It's second on Smith, and then call the roll, please.
Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbi?
Yes.
Councilmember Graves?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Tull?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
An ordinance declaring the results of the city general election held in the city of North Kansas City, Missouri on April 5th, 2022. Now we'll do the oath of office for the council members that were elected at the last election.
Does Zach have to leave now? He wants to, no, I'm just- yeah, I think. No, actually, you can sit while he does this, because then we'll take a break. And then we'll swap then. It doesn't have to be. It's not like a public shaming here. We want him to leave live. You got to get this right.
Raise your right hand, repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I possess all the qualifications of council member as prescribed by law. That I will support the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Missouri. The provisions of all laws of this state affecting cities of this class and the ordinances of the city of North Kansas City, Missouri, and will faithfully demean myself. So help me God.
All right, with that, we will then move into a recess to allow the new members to be seated and move on to the rest of the agenda. So we will come back at the call of the chair. There we go. We're in recess. Broadcast on, podium on, podium off. We are back in session. Number 10, correct? No, she's telling me incorrect. What am I going to now?
I think we need to vote on the consent agenda with the items that have been.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Is there a motion to approve the amended consent agenda?
Move to approve the amended consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? No. Motion carries. Now we'll go to number 10, appointment of city council liaison to the library board. Councilmember Graves.
Yeah, so I pulled this one off, and you might be scratching your head why. And Mr. Saper is a good friend of mine, and I respect him, and he would be great on the library board. And so the reason I pulled this off just to kind of discuss with the mayor, because this is his appointment, and I would approve it, but I just want to make sure you took everything into consideration as far as Saper currently serves on the planning committee. Is that correct?
No, not any longer.
Yeah, but this past term, right?
Previously,
he was on planning.
correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Right now he's not, but he was the previous year. Correct.
okay, so I just start brainstorming, and there's I think 3 of us up here that are probably exempt from serving on planning, which is myself, who's in real estate, Smith, and Toll, because they're also in real, like Toll's husband is an apartment developer, Smith's also in real estate. And then if you think about it, the council members from Ward 4 are already have committee assignments. And so if we put Saper on library, that would really only leave Roberts and Bailey available for planning, which is fine. I just don't know if you consider that perhaps just leaving, because I was going to renominate Saper to be on planning. But if he's already on the library board, I don't think he should be on the road district, city council, library board, planning. That's a little intense if he's on 4 boards. So I just kind of wanted to discuss
I had
that.
previously spoke to him about being on the library board, and he expressed he would be fine with that. So I continued on with that because I don't get to pick planning commission. That's not up to me. That nomination comes from you guys. So my nomination was just for the library board, and I spoke to Saper about that. He said that was fine. On the other parts, I don't know what would preclude you or Smith from serving, or necessarily Toll either. I don't know what.
I've heard from numerous people in the public that have attacked me for anytime I discuss anything regarding anything development, I get attacked for people say it's a conflict of interest. And whether true or not, if perception can be reality sometimes, if enough people think it looks bad, then maybe we shouldn't do it. And if that's the case for me, then it's certainly the case for Smith. And if Lisa Toll's husband's building a apartment building, then I would certainly think that she shouldn't be on the planning commission. I think that's pretty clear conflict of interest. So I just
Yeah, no,
wanted to
I
discuss
can
it.
understand the point where, yeah, some may have to, recuse themselves from certain items and such. But really the item for number 10 for me is just the appointment of Saper to the library board. Is there, Councilmember Smith?
Move to approve.
Second.
Further councilmember discussion? Seeing none, is there, all in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number, taking them in order, item number 14, short-term conditional use permit for Screenland Armor. And I don't really have any discussion item for that. Councilmember Roberts is going to recuse himself from the vote, but he is generally here to answer any questions council members may have related to the item. Councilmember Graves.
Yeah, thanks for pulling that from the consent agenda. That was I was going to pull it from the consent agenda before you did. And I'm also glad that Roberts is not voting on this. I was kind of shocked, honestly, to see it on the consent agenda. I don't know if that was just overlooked, but, it's council members shouldn't be voting to approve their own business for special use permits for public property. My second point on that is, this was approved during COVID, and COVID's over. My third point on that is we have a parking shortage here in North Kansas City, and anyone that drives around on the weekends and tries to park their car during peak hours knows that parking is at a premium, especially with the upcoming downtown streetscape project. 18th and Swift is currently a mess, and we have a parking shortage. So I don't think that we should just be putting parking lot special use permits on consent agendas. We should be discussing it before voting. My fourth point on this would be just fairness, overall fairness to the surrounding businesses that might rely on that parking lot for their own business. I know it's also, if you think about it, it kind of opens up a can of worms as far as what would preclude, Expressive from claiming special permits on the parking lot that's located behind their business. What would preclude Sailaway Wine Bar or Chapels from claiming the town square and saying, like, we want to use this on the weekends to show the Royals game and serve alcohol. Chicken and Pickle, they could, claim a parking lot for free and say we're going to host pickleball tournaments. So if you're selecting a business and giving them a free parking lot to use to operate their business in a for-profit manner and not charging rent, then is that fair to the surrounding businesses? My fifth point is there are neighbor complaints about this. I've had people, Mr. Saper and I, live in the ward that this is located in, and I've had people complain to me about this, but they actually said, this was during COVID, and they said, it's annoying, but because of COVID, we want the movie theater to stay in business. We want to support local businesses, so I'm not going to make a big stink out of this. However, when this came back up on this current agenda, they're disappointed, the neighbors. They're saying, COVID's over. I was, one of the people said, I dread when a movie is playing. We dread it. There's a guy that's an adult with special needs that lives in a property that backs right up to the parking lot, and he actually has to go stay with his parents when movies are playing. So it is a nuisance to surrounding properties, and I can attest to my, I live at 23rd and Gentry, and, I could hear dinosaurs screaming from my backyard during Jurassic Park, for example. And then, number 6, this is not like a public service, like showing movies at Mackin Park where you can just walk your kids down and throw out a lawn chair and watch a movie. This is, they're charging for spaces. They're charging a premium. It's not inexpensive. In fact, some of the people that have complained said, we looked into buying tickets and they're too expensive to take our grandkids and blah, blah, blah. So anyways, long story short, we really need to talk about this because we're giving a publicly owned parking lot to a business whose operator is on the city council, not charging any rent for the property, and that operator is making money off of this, and it was done initially because of COVID, which is over. So I'll shut up now. Thank you.
All right, there's a lot there. The one I'll touch on is preclude others. Nothing, doing this would preclude anyone from doing it in something similar outside their business. I'm trying to think. We get these throughout the year, but usually up on the consent agenda. It's not something we look at a lot. Like Snake Saturday, there's a lot of short-term conditional use permits, so nothing would preclude any business from asking. I mean, obviously, if we grant this and then they ask for the same parking lot on the same nights at the same time, that's not going to work. But yeah, I think we take these case-by-case basis generally. In terms of the other things, I'd mostly go back to the applicant here.
Yep.
On parking and all the other.
Yep, I can answer every single question Mr. Graves had. So I actually had the mayor remove this from the agenda. I was surprised it was on the consent agenda because I would never have assumed that would be the case. So first, regarding noise, we've actually consistently been drowned out by Paul and Jack's, which is significantly further away than us, consistently with the movie, like right in front of me. I could still hear music from there. So if we're talking noise complaints, we could probably go a lot further than this, but we do ensure that movies are done before the hour that they need to be done. We've never had a neighbor directly come to us and say they had an issue. The only reason I actually brought this is because we've had neighbors in the surrounding neighborhoods ask us to do it again. And part of the premium price we were paying is because we were in COVID. This year, the price is significantly lower to individual tickets, which is different than we were doing in previous years. As the mayor said, everybody who has a business can apply for a conditional use permit, so this isn't special treatment. This is regular treatment going through the regular process, which includes additional insurance, additional costs for us. It's not a cheap program to run. Like I talked to Councilmember Saper. It is not a cheap program. I'm only doing it because we were asked by local neighbors to continue it. In terms of the parking issue, the parking lot is almost exclusively utilized by ourselves at the movie theater and our neighbors on Saturday evenings, which is the only time we're asking. Last year, we did a much longer, multiple-day usage. This year, we trimmed it way back to just a summer program. And I've already reached out to Cultivar and Mitch and Morrow about this to make sure that they were okay with it because they're the evening businesses that could utilize it. And they both said that they enjoy that, and many of their customers are coming to see movies, so that they actually like the extra business. And yeah, so we've been doing this for the last 2 years with no issues in terms of police or neighbors or trash or anything like that. This is just continuing that process in the simplest way possible, which is Saturdays only, fixed time frames, lower price, and that's, I think, answers probably every question, but happy to answer more.
Well, I was going to see if you had any follow. Okay, then we'll keep Councilmember Saper.
I have many of those same concerns. Because of COVID, many places were forced to close. All kinds of businesses were forced to close. Later governments at all levels of government compensated those affected businesses and employees through various means, including cash grants, expanded unemployment payments, in-kind contributions, and other assistance. Those businesses are now free to operate as before, and workers are again able to be employed. Times have changed. But I've been reliably told that people, and I've seen them, people enjoyed this outdoor sit-in movie setting. I would suggest that we could modify it, make it like Friday night movies at the park, free to all, a public service. There are costs that the operator could then recoup through concession sales on-site and at the theater. And if we look at the costs, and there are significant costs, I'm sure, with these, we can see, indeed, if there is a shortfall in the potential operating revenue from concession sales, and the city could then consider actually making up some of that difference, or all of it. That would provide a real service to the people. It would be a free service. People could come. Their purchases of concessions on-site and at the theater could cover much of the cost, if not all of it. Again, it would be a service to the people, and that would be my suggestion.
I can't answer that by saying that it would be unable to be able to happen just on concession sales. It would probably be a 70% deficit for us. Ticket sales do pay for the event to happen.
Well,
we have about $25,000 in equipment and insurance that has to be covered, and then the cost of staff has significantly risen over the last year. So again, this is a program that was asked to return because the 2 years prior. I guess the COVID thing, we could have asked for this 5 years ago. We did look into it, and we did consider it, but we never did it 5 years ago. COVID, opened this opportunity. People, we were selling out a lot of shows, and you can attest probably more than anybody because you were out there almost every single one of them. People walking in from the neighborhoods, so we did have people ask, and that's why it's back on here.
To clarify, I was
Yep.
walking past,
Yep.
stopping and
He was
observing
getting
for a
free
few
movies.
minutes and moving on.
Well, that's illegal from the public right away, though. There. Just park across the street. Councilmember Smith.
So a couple of things on that. I've heard we did this because of COVID, that's true, but we also did a lot of other things because of COVID. We did work from home, and we discovered some things work, that they're popular, that people like them, and we're going to continue doing some of those things. COVID just opened the door for that, and I think this is one of those things where we tried something because the theater was at a threat. You can't really do much indoors, so we moved outside. The neighborhood liked it, most of the neighborhood. And people they've asked for it to come back. So I support that. And then, as you mentioned, movies at the park is something we do offer on Friday nights during the summer. This would be duplicating a lot of what's offered at, what the park offers. So we would be kind of competing with ourselves and spending money on that. So I think it makes sense. It makes good sense to allow a movie theater to operate as a movie theater, to provide a service that's been asked for, and to take something good that came out of COVID and continue it forward. So I'd be in favor, and I would go ahead and make a motion to approve.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay, there's a second. Further council member discussion. Okay, you haven't gone, or did you have a rebuttal on something right then, or?
It's not really a rebuttal. I had
Okay.
a question. The city owns and maintains the parking lot, so who carries liability for, somebody falls at the movie in the parking lot? cracks
We
their
have
head open?
to have additional insurance with the city named on it as well as ourselves, in addition to the normal insurance that the city would already have.
Okay.
So we do have to carry an additional policy.
And then I would agree with what Saper was actually proposing. If it was free for residents, and I would have no issue with it because it would be seen as like for public benefit. Or if the movie theater was paying some type of fee to use the parking lot, that's different than just giving it away for free for a private business. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, Councilmember Toll.
So you brought up something, and I just wanted to say that I thought it was a great idea, which is when you're talking about other businesses renting things, the town square that we're looking at redoing and making a flexible space. I hope somebody shows Royals games out there with drinks, because that's exactly the type of thing that we were looking at, is this flexible space that we could use and businesses could apply to use, that we could bring people together, and I thought that was a brilliant idea. I would go watch a Royals game there.
But you got to have Bally, so good luck with that. Councilmember Graves.
I guess that's my point. That's actually kind of my point is I do envision, like, I would love to go watch a Royals game at the town square and buy a beer and some nachos from Chapels while I'm sitting there. But is it the city's response, up here on the city council, we're supposed to be, kind of representing the city, and is it our responsibility to use our tax dollars to provide platforms for businesses to come operate on our platform free of charge for profit, like not for public service? I'm just trying to wrap my head
And
around
I think
it.
that's exactly what we envisioned in City Square, was having a space that people could come and use.
For free, though.
Yeah, through the same application process. That's exactly what we had talked about. So it's a parking lot, so it has a different use during the daytime as something like that, but that's exactly what we're thinking of. And they would be selling things that we would purchase that you would buy in the store, just like the movie theater is selling things that you could purchase inside the theater, access to the movie and concessions.
But the movie, the difference, I guess, in my mind is the movie, you have to buy a ticket. Whereas if you go to Arts in the Park, it's a free entrance and you can buy wares from.
Yeah, I'm comparing it to your idea of the Royals, right?
Correct.
When you go in to Chapels, you don't pay to sit where you can see a TV to watch the Royals. You don't pay for a ticket for that, but you pay for the beer and you pay for the food. When you go to the movie theater, you pay to see the movie and you pay for the beer and you pay for the food. So to me, those are apples and apples. I thought it was a great idea. I think it's way more similar than you think it is to what's
Just
being
trying to wrap my
proposed.
mind around it. I guess if the movie was free, I wouldn't.
But the movie isn't free when you
I
go in
know.
the store. Like when you go in the theater, the movie isn't free. When you go into Chapels, they don't charge you to watch the Royals game. They charge you for the food and the drinks.
All right, I saw
Sorry, Chapels, because this is completely
the
hypothetical.
first time, Councilmember Bailey.
I guess I'm not completely understanding on the cost to the city. I'm not hearing where the city is paying anything in this. In fact, I would understand that we do receive some amount of sales tax revenue. So this would theoretically be net positive to the city unless someone can tell me I'm wrong.
I mean, obviously, long-term, there is maintenance to the parking lot. I mean, and I do think you got to spread that across all uses and all the time. I mean, so is there a direct for that night only? No, and I think you guys probably do a good job of cleaning up as well, I'm guessing. I mean, I'm probably your biggest mess out there sometimes, so. But no, I haven't heard any complaints about the messy portion, so I don't know what other direct cost of just that night, but, anything this way? Anything further this way? There we go, Councilmember Palumbi.
I'm also going to start by saying I'm in favor of passing this. I just feel like we're kind of getting a little sticky here. I think we're trying to tell a private business how much they can charge for, a private entity or a private service, and I don't really think that's our job up here. So for us to say, this movie should be free, doesn't really make a lot of sense, because that's not what we get to do as council members, is to tell what a private business can or cannot charge. So I think that's a little bit outside of our jurisdiction. I agree with Councilmember Bailey. We're not, either going to make a profit or lose a profit on this. And right now, somebody else could lease that area and have it for a given amount of time, and they're not choosing to do so. So I just feel like we're kind of making a commotion out of something that is probably not utilized during that time frame, just to kind of make a point.
Councilmember Saper.
Yeah, we're talking about public property being utilized by a private business for profit. So that does make it the city's business how that property is used. It clearly does. It's a real slippery slope. I mean, much of the time, these council chambers aren't in use. Are we going to start renting them out? We could under the same principle. We've got to draw some lines between public and private. And it's not always the business of the public to support private businesses. They're in business to make money and make a profit. That's what they do. But it's not necessarily the case that the public dollars should be given to them to subsidize that. So it's not wrong to say, okay, you've got a public space parking lot that you want to use it for a joint project, fine. So it's not wrong in that case to say, let's make it free and come up with any cost differential somewhere else. The city could make for instance, a contribution to cover the shortfall between the cost of operating it and what comes in as for concessions from on-site and from the theater itself. So it's not out of line.
Well, I guess we do Snake Saturday and other, events, and the same thing is there's businesses making a profit on that day, and we're not, throwing a fuss over whether they can do that or not, and that's, several businesses that are participating in that, and you're essentially saying that we need to tell Screenland or the next company to subsidize their event because we feel like they're making a profit. We have to understand that we need to be supportive of some of the businesses in the area too, so that they choose to stay in North Kansas City.
It's the repeated nature. Others are one-shot affairs, really. The other conditional. But this goes on week after week for extended period of time. It does make it qualitatively different.
All right. Further. Now we got Councilmember Clevenger just out there sipping on his drink a second ago. All relaxed now. Yeah. All right. I see no further hands. So with
I just have to say, because
I'll
I
let
hear
Councilmember
your concerns. I hear them because I'm sitting here going like, I get it. But I think it does come down for me is that one, I haven't heard anybody also say I've been wanting to use those spaces for something else, and we do have the community requesting this of a business, and we do as a city want to support our businesses. Not as in paying them. We're not trying to pay them to stay here, but we're going to try to say, sure, we'll look to open up our resources that we have available for you to utilize. I think that's what we want to do for businesses. We've done that for, different businesses to open up, patios and things like that on the sidewalks and trying to move things about and make some adjustments to be supportive of our community. And so that's where my mindset is. And I don't know that anyone's pushed back, directly, any businesses that said, I actually wanted that night for myself, so why does he get it and I don't? I think that's where it would be a different story, where this has been requested by the community, and he's just really trying to put things together to say, let's make it happen again. That's how I'm seeing it. So I'm in support of it.
all right. So we will go on to a vote. We will not.
No, we will.
Okay, why'd you shake your head no?
I thought you were turning the page and you were
Oh.
going on to something
Well,
else.
I needed the roll call here, so let's go ahead and roll call this. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Roberts,
Oops.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbi,
Yes.
Councilmember Graves.
No.
Councilmember Saper.
No.
Councilmember Tull,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Bailey,
Yes.
I think you did the same thing I did.
5-2.
My sheet says Clevenger, so.
I know.
That's, see. All right, motion carries. The next item through all this confusion will be 10, 14. Now we'll jump to number 17, the reappointment of Roberta Larson to the Parks Board, term to expire May 21st, 2025. Councilmember Saper.
The reason I pulled these is because, well, we've been over this before. This city talks a good game about equity and inclusion, and we've made some progress. But a key part of equity and inclusion is in our government itself. There we have fallen short. Reappointing the same people time and time again to committees and boards is the very antithesis of inclusion. We need to bring more new people to these boards and committees. Even if we have to have some vacancies for a bit while we find and encourage them. I have no question at all about the dedication and competence of the people on this item and the following, this total list. I applaud them. But continuous reappointment is not inclusion. It's not inclusive. I would like a work session on this issue at our next meeting. If that can happen, I will move for a second consent agenda to include all of those offered on the original appointments. And I will vote yes for all of them.
Oh, you can get.
But it is.
Oh, sorry.
But it is
I thought you were done.
No. But it's past time to begin equity and inclusion in our citizen government bodies. It's something we need to do. If we are indeed serious about equity and inclusion everywhere.
Thank you. To the work session. We can. I don't know. See, Kim's calendar. I'm sure we can get it on one at some time in some point in
Correct.
the future.
We do have the
There we go.
streetcar scheduled for the next work session.
How
So
about
in order to keep with their feasibility timeline, I'm unsure we could bump that.
How about the next?
I don't have my crib note in front of me. I'm so sorry.
How about can I commit to working
Soon.
with you offline on organizing
Soon.
a date there? Okay.
Soon.
Okay. Maybe we can combine it with something else. Okay, we have. There we go, Councilmember Smith.
So I understand the concern to an extent. The thing I wonder about is what would the goal of the work session be? The only thing we could really land on that would curb reappointments would be something like term limits, which we've discussed at length. And going back to look at what was said, the council almost entirely agreed that term limits weren't a good idea. So short of putting term limits on, there's no way to say you can't reappoint somebody because they've been on too long, they've been reappointed too many times. Regardless of qualifications, that's something that we just said wasn't something we're going to look for. And that could change in the future, but this is largely the same governing body that said term limits weren't a good idea. And as far as
I would hope that there'd be more wisdom at this point in the governing body and more commitment to equity and inclusion.
And again, I called it a false equivalency when you said it before. It's not the same thing. We can be committed to equity and inclusion and still think people can be reappointed if they're doing a great job. So I think that all of the people nominated are doing a great job. They're dedicated to their positions. And similar to what we did before and we learned from, I would, I don't know how we can do this. Do we have to move to approve each individually, or I guess we can't?
I didn't see in our rules where we can create a second consent agenda, but we can move through each item really fast if we need to go that route. Obviously, term limits isn't on the agenda tonight, so that's why I saw your hand up, but I waved the hand because really can't go any farther on term limits because that's not an item on our agenda, as I would be told by Tom if we probably went much farther in discussion. So that would be, as he noted,
That
for
would
the
be
work
the work
session, and hence
session.
why he asked for the work session.
Yeah.
So now we should go back to the reappointment of Roberta Larson to the Parks Board, and from here you would just take a motion. So if you have comments related specifically to this individual to the Parks Board, Councilmember Bailey.
Did we have anybody else apply for or suggest themselves for this?
Oh, I've got, yes. I mean, not specifically because this opening, but there are things on, there are people that would like to be on the Parks Board all the time. Yep, Councilmember.
I will say to speak to Roberta, Elizabeth Ryan, and Carol, I had thoughts myself of, oh, let's think about other people and things like that. But what you have to realize, I would say if anybody out there wants to be on one of these boards, then they actually need to show up, do the volunteer work, get to know, get some mentoring from those that exist on the board because they are completely dialed in and committed to that role. It was a voluntary role. They stepped into it. And I think the worst thing we could do is just to yank them out because we've got to fit somebody in there that fits like, we're like, nope, it's got to be this particular person just because we're trying to check a box. No, this person is doing a great job. They want to stay in the role. And I think that's what we battled with. And I would say to these three, they want to stay in the role. Bryant, they members have asked, hey, I'd like the mayor to actually check in with me to make sure I want the role. That was done. They want the role. They want to stay in that role. They volunteer their time outside of just showing up to board meetings. They volunteer their time to the community. And that's a thing we have to recognize when people are applying, that they need to think about how have they, contributed to their community in order to kind of better qualify their time to join a board that everyone wants to be on, it seems. So that's just what I want you to consider.
And if I were just to high level all four of these, they're all committed, dedicated volunteers to the organizations that, they've been appointed to represent, hence why
I've
they're on here again.
stipulated all of that.
Yes,
and-
no, you did.
and I did. I think
I
highly
did not
of
want
them
to say
all.
you didn't. I was just
I think
reaffirming
highly of
that
them
was
all.
my, no. Yeah, I didn't want to say that that's, yeah, sorry. Oh, that wasn't meant to be towards you. Okay, so we do not have a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Further council member discussion. Councilmember Toll.
The other thing I wanted to add that, that Jesse had alluded to is that we've done this before where we didn't renew someone because there really wasn't a lot of information about that person, and we've made changes to that. So one of the things I can appreciate that's happening now is all the information and the reappointment form that's being filled out, which I think is very helpful. So I do think that was a move in the right direction of something that we've done. I think looking at, as part of a future work session that we do, looking at having a mentorship for people that are interested, maybe reaching out to them and saying, we have some experts that are there, and it would be great if you got some years in under them. I think that would be wonderful. It would build volunteerism. I'm sure you could always use more in volunteers, and without losing our leadership that we have, because we have people that have been doing this so long, they could do it in their sleep, and they're very good at it. They're very good at it. So I think that's part of what we could talk about is bringing in people. If you're interested, we have a great opportunity for you to come during meetings and to do these things. That's something we could discuss.
That
Thank
would be
you.
good for a work, yeah.
There we go. Thank you. We have a first and a second further council member discussion.
May I ask who the first and second was? You were the first.
Second.
Okay.
I heard it, but yeah, there we go.
Come on.
I'm going to voice vote this. All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed? No. Motion carries. Number 18, reappointment of Elizabeth Ryan to the Park Board, term to expire May 21st, 2025.
Move to approve.
Second.
Good. All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed? No. Motion carries. Number 19, reappointment of Kara Silvers to the Parks Board, term to expire May 21st, 2025.
Move to approve.
Second.
Good? All in favor?
I got it.
Please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? No. Motion carries. Number 20, reappointment of Dr. Thomas Herrick to the Hospital Board of Trustees, term to expire April 3rd, 2026.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? No. Motion carries. Now we are back to, I'll take the next couple too, and then I'll get to you. Number 21, selection of Mayor Pro Tempore. City Council selects Mayor Pro Tem. There we go. All right. Nominations for Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Clark.
I would like to nominate Lisa Toll for Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Toll. First name Lisa.
Further nominations for Mayor Pro Tem. Seeing none, then we will vote just on Councilmember Toll. All those in favor of Councilmember Toll being appointed Mayor Pro Tem, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? No. Motion carries. Number 22, selection of council member to serve on the Planning Commission. There are nominations for a council member to serve on the Planning Commission. Councilmember Graves.
I would nominate Roberts.
Do you accept the nomination? I'm sorry. Oh, my goodness, we already approved you. Would you accept that, Councilmember Toll?
Yes.
There we go. Important question here. Okay. You're stuck with it now, but just for the record, she also said yes. Councilmember Roberts, would you accept the nomination?
I don't think I can, given my extra time currently available. I will say I would like to nominate Councilman Smith. I don't think that there would be any conflict because as far as I know, you're not in commercial real estate. And while there is a potential for residential things, I think you would abstain from anything that would be a conflict of interest, much as I would on this council.
Okay, so he does not accept the nomination. We have a nomination for Councilmember Smith. Further nominations for Planning Commission. Do you accept yours now?
Sure. Yes.
Thank you. Further nominations from the council. Seeing none, we will vote to approve the selection of Councilmember Smith as the council member to serve on the Planning Commission. All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. We have one no. Motion carries. And now I give it back to Crystal, and I'm done reading.
Number 23, consideration of an amended and restated development agreement and amended and restated real estate sale agreement with Bloom NKC. Bill number 7677, ordinance number 9474.
This is where I give, Mike, go ahead. I'll let you. I said I was going to do it. Yeah, I'll let you give.
Well, yeah, I just, while I'd like to be able to tell you all that I'm fully up to speed, I'm not there yet. Fortunately, there's great department heads here that are. Obviously, I'm going to pass this off to him to speak to. Who,
I will apply that to the next several items as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So in your packet, I kind of, in my memo, went through some of the Northgate Village history. As the council does remember, this project actually began in 1996 when the city saw that as a redevelopment area. We are discussing the last city-owned parcel of land, which is the commercial property along Burlington. The city did put out a request for proposals, and the city council did select Bloom NKC, or Box Development. I'll be referring to them as Bloom NKC. On October 5th, 2021, the city council did approve an ordinance that contained a development agreement and real estate agreement with the developer, who is here tonight. Kind of the current status is, during that time, since October, Bloom has performed extensive due diligence on the city-owned land. I did outline all the steps that they have taken. It includes this ALTA survey, market analysis, traffic impact study. With a lot of this, they have been working with city staff. There are several processes left to go, including site plan submittal, going in front of the Northgate TIF Commission, as well as the Planning Commission for site development. One of the things that brings us here this evening, though, is through that due diligence process, Bloom has discovered, as well as us at the city side, 2 site-specific stormwater concerns that heavily impacts the future development of this particular site. Those issues are as follows. I did notate this in my memo, and Bloom will kind of walk through this, how these problems were discovered and some of the abatement processes that they have undertaken to make this project still move forward. One of them is existing stormwater infrastructure. The stormwater infrastructure, the city-owned assets, are very shallow on this particular area. They'll kind of get into some of what needs to be done to this particular site to allow for development on top of it, as well as the Burlington Complete Street encroachment and stormwater swale. So as part of the Burlington project, as we are progressing within those engineer drawings, we learned that that particular area, as most people here, and it was actually mentioned during the work session, that North Kansas City is very flat, which is wonderful on certain things, but not when you are trying to abate stormwater. Stormwater, you need some form of grade. So that particular area will have an open trench or a swale. Some people may have referred to it as a drainage ditch, but this particular area, the stormwater cannot be captured and put underground. So I'm going to call Russell Pearson and Justin Larson, who will kind of walk through some of the development as well as some of the considerations for the amendment to the development agreement and the real estate that is before the City Council today. We also have Matt Webster, who is the city's financial advisor, here today in case the council has any questions. And with that.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Kim. Appreciate that. Mayor and City Council, excited to be here, and thank you for taking the time. I'm Russ Pearson with Box Real Estate Development, and I'll to avoid a recap of all of that and jump right into it if that works. We're excited about the project. Since we started working on design and due diligence, a number of things have gone really well, and a few things we encountered a few obstacles. So we come up with a plan, and today is to discuss and hopefully get approved an amendment to the development agreement that allows us to execute our plan and move forward. So quick recap, there's a lot that goes into the site itself, so I'll give a very brief overview, and if anybody has questions, we're happy to answer them. But the site is located, as shown in the arrow, it's on the northern side of the city in the Northgate development, and the original project, this was our original site plan from May of 2021, and Bloom is a series of small vertical mixed-use buildings. There's in this example, there's 4 different building types. There's a series of vertical mixed-use townhomes, which have small commercial spaces geared towards entrepreneurs, small business owners, and stay-at-home executives, work-from-home executives, that are a combination of commercial and residential space. There's 2-story office buildings, and then a mixed-use building on the north, a little triangle-shaped building called Building B, that was based on a historic building in North Kansas City. And this is a list of the due diligence processes that we've gone through so far, and ones that are still yet to be completed. But we're heavily through the process, and we hit stormwater issues, and that's where we kind of reached back out to staff and discussed kind of a plan. So I'll walk you through that timeline. The first one that was actually good news. It was a happy finding, but the first feedback we had early on with staff was traffic related, and our original entrance to the site was further north, and it was too close to the other entrance, and the curve of the road caused some problems. So we took that opportunity to redesign really the north third of the site. We deleted 5 of the vertical mixed-use townhome buildings, and we doubled roughly the size of Building B, and it's a lot more similar to the original Palmer House building that was the gateway to North Kansas City. That was the inspiration for that building. We were able to look at the original photographs and get very similar to the massing of that in that concept. And we looked at our market study showed the size of the residential units. So we took the opportunity to peel back the 3rd floor to create loft units. And at this moment, we were just starting to experience the worst of the material and labor increases. So this was this is December of last year. We were starting to forecast what life is going to be like. We were making proactive changes to hopefully offset that and stay neutral in the project. And so far, it was looking good. We were high-fiving around the office. We were all for it. So design progresses. This is the Building B I mentioned before. That's the inspiration photos in the top left. A lot of, the Palmer House was definitely the inspiration. We looked at the function of even where the secondary entrances were for the residential and the primary entrances. Even the interior photos we had of the building for the triangular lobby. The units in here are going to be really unique, very, very cool. It's I'd call it 4-sided architecture, but it's really 3-sided because there's only 3 sides to the building. So it's full brick masonry and cast stone. Everything we do at Box is designed for long-term. Sustainability is a complex term, but we feel like the most sustainable building is one that doesn't have to be torn down and rebuilt. And so for buildings to be worth saving 100 years from now, they need to be both durable and be architecturally interesting. Those 2 components make us want to save buildings. So we try to maintain that standard throughout really all of our projects, and this one included. So in January, we learned that the depth of the storm sewer caused us to go with what is essentially the smallest size underground detention system and spread it out through the site. So all the pink areas are all of these containment areas, and there's a history to that will take a lot to explain. But essentially, we have to store water during large forecasted water events so that we don't overload the downstream storm sewer system, and we're kind of at the top of the watershed. So as a whole, every project needs to be able to contain that so it doesn't there's no off-site storm detention area for this project. So as a result, it caused the site itself to have to raise up about 3 feet, which you can imagine 3 feet of fill across the entire area is hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's a big impact. And the extra cost of laying all these components and raising the site and all the engineering involved was a bit of a shock. So we were kind of recovering from that. It also caused a retaining wall because now we have a large grade change with reduced setback on the east side. So in the middle of figuring that out, February this happened. We learned that the MoDOT plans for the Burlington streetscape, which were designed 3 or 4 years ago, it was quite a while ago, that because at that time this was a city-owned land site, the plan was to redirect stormwater from the street into what was a city-owned site and create a drainage swale. And everyone kind of forgot. It was such a long time ago, and the entire rest of the project, from what I understand, is able to be buried underground. This was the one area that it had to be a swale, and swales are wide, and they impact. And so there's a number of utilities along that road, that section. Basically, original plan was going to compress. It was going to kill our plan. It was compressing our site to a point it could no longer work. So we went back and redesigned and Olson worked with MoDOT, and we were able to figure out that if we created a retaining wall along the west side of the property now, as well as the east side, with a guardrail, that we could contain the right amount of capacity of water to direct it where it needed to go without impacting anything from all the calculations of stormwater. That allowed us we still had to compress our site even further, but as you can imagine, the cost of the retaining wall, all the grading, all the stormwater, it was all stormwater caused, resulted in a pretty big impact. This was a great photo, kind of looking north, showing some of the utility infrastructure and the area in question. Right where that water is setting is where the cyclotrack and walking path will go. And then there's MoDOT will essentially be pushing water from the public area and trash and all the things that come along with it onto private property, which was the city's and is intended to become part of the project. Then we have to maintain that drainage swale. So there's an added maintenance cost that we're hoping isn't as bad as it could be. So there's essentially a seawall that gets created along the north side because it's up against water. That last shows our current site plan that was submitted and is going through the city FDP site plan process. It includes private improvements within the right-of-way along the east side due to the reduced setback. It'll actually be it's kind of the good news is it's a cool effect. It will have from the streetscape an elevated effect, which is great for townhomes. It wasn't intended, but it'll be a happy accident in that sense. So meanwhile, while dealing with that, just simply the cost of construction has been increasing. I don't have to probably explain that to anybody, but this was a construction cost index just to give you an idea where we were trending along when we were considering the project, and then when trouble started happening to where we are today. There's been significant cost increases. And it's not always real time on the impact of all these things, but when we got a final site plan, by the time we budgeted everything back out again, or got an updated cost estimates, there's a significant delta in cost. And our revised plan helped some, but the irony is our total project cost increased and our square footage decreased. So you can imagine what happens is there becomes a gap, and it breaks the pro forma is what ultimately happens. So our total project costs are very, very similar to what they were before. And we thought they were going to decrease through efficiency, but cost increases kind of negated a bunch of that. So our unit count went up slightly we had 2 more residential units. They're on average a little bit smaller, and our commercial square feet stayed relatively the same, right about 27,000 square feet. But the background of that is the type of commercial space, I'd call it better. We now have a larger, more functional retail restaurant space available in Building B. So there's an opportunity for a really cool, unique concept. Before it was split up among another number of spaces, it would have been a different function. So the type of commercial space, even though it's all the same, has an added ability to be build a more restaurant function. So, this slide shows our original pilot schedule, and we've worked with staff on a plan to make the numbers get back to working again. And this is the revised pilot schedule for that. So from now until the June timeframe-wise, this is updated schedule. We still have due diligence, final design, and permitting to go through on a number of aspects. Then we close on the land, and we're intending to break ground as soon as we can shortly after. So target's July, August of this year, and it's about an 18-month project. And so that would put us completion delivery early 2024. And then here's a rendering looking north through the alleyway, just to further explain. Vertical mixed-use townhomes is a term that we coined. I think I haven't heard it before, so we were trying to come up with a term for what we're building here. It's probably the most common building type in Europe. It's just not common in Kansas City enough to have a name. So this is the vertical mixed-use townhome section view, where there's commercial space, and then on the rear side, there's the residential entry and garage, living room, dining room, kitchen with a loft, and bedrooms on the 3rd floor. So it shares elements of townhomes. It's platted like a townhome. It shares elements of it's a vertical mixed use, so hence vertical mixed use townhome. And with that, I'll open up for questions.
Councilmember Toll.
Just to recap, I want to make sure I understand everything properly. The site, everybody who lives here knows North Kansas City is flat and water is a problem. But your particular site has more problems than most, and your water retention had to be very shallow, which means you had to spread it out over more area, correct?
Yes.
And you were mitigating that with other measures, but then the city's plan for what to do with the water coming off of Burlington was to dump it onto now your property, correct?
Correct.
And that's where we're over. So, seems like an issue that the city has unwittingly created, kind of a kick the can down the road thing. So I just wanted to make sure. And also, when you were talking about the water retention that's going to be there outside your wall, your retention wall, is that like a ditch? Is that what you had said?
It's a swale. So
Swale,
and it's,
okay.
I always think of retention as like retaining water. That's, retainage is a pond, and detention just is like a police officer just holding it there for a little bit and then letting them go. So this is a detention swale. So instead of being really wide to hold the same capacity, we build a wall so that the same capacity and flow can occur, but it's vertical instead of wide.
Okay,
So that's the layperson's explanation of it.
got it.
Councilmember Roberts.
Yeah, so the property has been long vacant. We've been, I know, trying to find something to do with this property. I guess my question is, had you came into this property knowing everything you know right now, would you have even considered this? And I want you to be as honest as possible.
Had we known it in the beginning, we would have severely modified our design. I don't know that our project we would not have designed it the way it's done, or would not have been able to produce that product on this site. It's kind of like, when you plan on a normal stormwater detention depth for underground detention, and then you slice that in half and have to spread it out like this, that wouldn't be the most efficient way to design it, and it may have been a better site for something we don't do, which is like a mid-rise apartment project or something else. I don't know what that would have looked like. It would have been challenging to go into this with expectations of getting a quick agreement with MoDOT, which is usually a very long process. So it's a complex question to answer. I don't know the answer.
It sounds a little bit like, no. It sounds like, no, this is a lot. I mean, building up the grade 3 feet is a significant amount of work, not to mention the huge retaining wall and all the water displacement issues. I mean, I love this project. I think it's a great use of that space. It's unfortunate it has all these issues, but I'm fully in supporting whatever we need to do here.
All right. Councilmember Palumbi.
My only question was actually just to kind of get Director Sand's take on any of kind of what he's laid out and see if there's any issues that you can anticipate or if there's anything the city can do to mitigate some of the, I guess, obstacles that they've run into, or I'm sure you guys have had discussions about it, but since you're kind of our engineering guide, is there anything that you see that we could potentially run into further issues with, or do you think kind of what they've kind of laid out is going to work? Or?
I think the due diligence process has played out really well. They've had a very in-depth look at a lot of different things that, you know, they're heavily involved. So I guess never say never, but the thoroughness of what they've done thus far is pretty deep. So, no.
And you don't anticipate any of kind of the plans you guys have in terms of like deterring the water somewhere else, running into any issue with the neighboring areas, and them having any stormwater issues as well?
I don't believe so. The water for reference right now is going where it goes, and so we're just putting it into a different place before it goes where it goes. I think a lot of the Burlington streetscape plan involves a lot of burying of lines, and I assume that adds capacity. A lot of those are very technical stormwater questions, but we're required, and we being, I think, all new developments in most cities have to not add additional issues downstream, because before those standards were put in place, people didn't think about it. They would just keep building until it became a problem, and whoever lived downstream was impacted. Well, a great example, we're at the top of the watershed, so what we do affects a lot of people downstream. And I've got projects that are at the bottom of watersheds, and I deal with it on the opposite side too. So we make sure stormwater quality is it's a big issue, big concern of mine. My sister's in hydraulics and hydrology for the Army Corps of Engineers, and so we have dinner table discussions about stormwater quality and very nerdy things. So we're always trying to do the best we can. We looked at permeable pavers and all kinds of other solutions to try to figure out what's the best way to do it. But ultimately, our engineer, Olson in this case, is doing the analysis of making sure we are, in the 1% storm events, we're capturing enough water so that it releases at a rate that doesn't impact downstream businesses.
And my last question is we've kind of taken the measures to make sure that we're not going to get in trouble with MoDOT in regards to anything on Burlington that would impact kind of what those plans are laid out, correct?
My understanding is everything that's changing is happening on private property. And so Olson was also the engineer, just a different department, that created the plans for the Burlington streetscape plan. So it was fortunate in a way. They were just able to walk down the street and say, we got a problem, and they were able to get MoDOT on the phone and confirm that our changes, as long as we didn't affect what's going downstream with what we're doing, they didn't mind. And so it was able to get resolved very quickly, which was kind of a miracle. I mean, it was very convenient. It would have been a very different scenario and a lot of other variables, but within a 24, 48-hour period, we had that confirmation that it was okay, and that everything is kind of private. What we do with the water, they don't care. It's just as long as it gets off their street on our property and then into the system. So,
great, thank you so much. And I'm going to say what Adam said. I'm fully in support of you guys building this here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Toll.
I wanted to add that my questions before were just to make sure everybody was aware of the problems of the site. These problems exist regardless of who builds on this site. So the fact that we're this far along and we could start this summer, and more importantly, your designs, the sustainability, the way that you explain sustainability, that it has to be something we're saving and made with quality products it really speaks to me. And I feel like this project does have that. It has a quality project that looks like something that's worth saving. So I fully support it. These problems are going to exist no matter what, and I'm on board, and I'm thankful that you guys were able to problem solve around this.
Thank you.
Councilmember Graves.
Yeah, I love this project, so all the people that think I'm anti-development, I'd like you to mark the tape. And this is this piece of land's been sitting vacant for quite a while, and so I'm very thankful that you're here with this presentation, and I'm also thankful that it's such a unique project, and you took the time to make it. It's not a cookie cutter development that we see, going up around different, parts of the metro. And so, also your swale, I think that you should really embrace it and call it a moat, and perhaps, perhaps drop an alligator in it. But long story short, I'm in favor. How do we move forward? And do I need to move to approve?
First reading.
Okay, so motion for first reading. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All right, we'll continue council member comments.
Yes. I've supported this project. This is, again, one of the few projects I have supported in terms of housing in the city, for a lot of the reasons that we've gone into. But I think we do need it to address the new added costs. And we haven't yet. So before we dump too much praise on the project and carry you on our shoulders down the street in praise, I think we need to complete that.
Councilmember Smith.
If we want to talk costs, as Adam alluded to, this is a prime candidate for a but-for test. And but for this incentive, I don't think the project gets even close to being started. And so this is a very important incentive that I think is an absolute approval. We've got a first and a second. So.
Further councilmember comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? No. Motion carries.
An ordinance adopting and approving first amended and restated development agreement between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and Bloom NKC LLC for a certain development project in the city and approving first amended and restated real estate sale agreement between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and Bloom NKC LLC.
Move that bill number 7677 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9474.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
I'm trying to give her time.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Plumby?
Yes.
Councilmember Graves?
Yes.
Councilmember Sapers?
Yes.
Councilmember Tull?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Bailey?
Motion carries.
An ordinance adopting and approving first amended and restated development agreement between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and Bloom NKC LLC for a certain development project in the city, and approving first amended and restated real estate sale agreement between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and Bloom NKC LLC. Number 24. You ready for me going? Okay.
Please.
Scheduling discussion, River Forest Park meeting with Parks and Recreation Board.
Now we're going to know, Lisa, if you can meet on June 9th.
She'll say no.
You cannot?
She cannot.
Okay. Oh, all right. Then there we go. Everyone else, this is a discussion to decide if we can meet on June 9th, unless you have something further to add, Kim. Okay.
Yes. Of course.
How do you have, is that a question? No. Councilmember Plumby.
At the same night.
So we do. One of my challenges is we have quite a few work sessions already scheduled, as well as I'm trying to meet with the Parks and Recreation Board, and I'm trying the hat trick here of trying to get the feasibility study in a position for consideration for the upcoming financial proposed budget. So we do. So if the council was able to meet, my next question would be to the EIC is, could we move that particular meeting?
What time's the EIC meeting? 7?
It is at the same time.
Stack them up. 6 and 7. She's
We
like, I'm gonna kill you.
We could. I'd have to clone a few people. Again, some of the challenge with this particular project is trying to keep the feasibility schedule on time. On top of, do I bump a planning commission? Do I ask a park and recreation board meeting to move, the city council meeting to move? So trying to get 2 boards and commissions, and then trying to keep a project on schedule. It's definitely not ideal whatsoever. And then you kind of layer in its summer vacation schedules. So, which would be one of the reasons why I'm trying to see if breaking out you guys' calendar to see what dates kind of work, in hopes of trying to keep the River Forest Park project moving along.
All right, further discussion. I hear no opposition to that date and time. So we will proceed with asking Parks Board, I guess, is the next step. I don't know. Is that the next step?
This is during the normal Parks Board time
Oh,
meeting.
perfect.
So the hope would be, again, Councilmember Saper, I should have brought my HIP list of all the fun work sessions that we have kind of stacked up for you guys. But the challenge is trying to squeeze in another session. The hope would be that this particular work session would happen with Parks Board as well as the City Council. They would get your feedback and then have another open house based on the feedback heard from both bodies, both governing bodies. So again, what we're trying to do is keep the project moving and have an open house for further comments from the public and input.
I'll just add, sorry that I drink a lot of water tonight. I had already talked to Amy about the date, and I will not be able to attend, but I do fully support, and I do not want to hold up the process. So I would be in full support of going forward with the date.
All right, next item, please.
Request to utilize contingency funds to purchase a pitching mound and dugout bench for Diamond 1 ball field.
Kim. Oh. Mike. Oh, Kim. Somebody. Who's taking this?
Yeah.
Well, I always start
can
with your
take it.
side, and then I let you guys delegate there.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Item 25 tonight is regarding the Ball Field 1 renovation at Mackin Park. Victoria is not here tonight, so I'm going to apologize in advance if I miss some of the nuances of this. But the item in question is a request for utilizing the contingency funds of the project to purchase a portable pitching mound and additional dugout benches for the project. The project originally had a contingency of $65,631, of which $45,341 is still available. This request would be an additional $24,875 from the contingency funds. And again, just a couple items that are needed to kind of complete the project. There's some other backstory here, but if there's any other questions, I'll be happy to try to answer those things.
Oh, here, we got to fire away with some questions here. Councilmember Smith.
Just to make sure we're using the same wording here, it talks about covering bleachers, and then it says 6 additional dugout benches.
Yeah, so in the original project, there was $48,000 allotted for accessories. Those, it was, the intent was to uncover a lot of these kind of components as prices have increased, as we've talked about with different things. That hasn't gone as far as they originally thought. So the bleachers are actually the stand bleachers that go out front of the diamond there, and then these dugout benches go inside the dugouts for the players to use.
So we're adding 6 benches to the inside of the dugout?
As I understand it, yeah, that's part of the, I think the dugouts are, again, I'm kind of going from what I know of the project, but the dugouts are a little longer, and so they can actually include more benches in there.
That's 3-piece.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Still 33 feet.
I mean, being on the ballpark committee, I don't remember this being an issue. So I'm just making sure that I'm understood, because it says it only covers 3 sets of bleachers. How are adding more benches inside the dugout fixing that issue? Or do we?
Can I jump in there?
Sure.
So it's not to buy more benches. The challenge is the benches got a lot more expensive, so they could only afford 3. They need 6. That's how I understood it, is that from the time the project was authorized to when they actually went to purchase these benches, they had thought they had budgeted enough for 6. Turns out we only had enough money to purchase 3, yet we still need 6.
Okay.
So from what I understand it, and again, sorry, you're getting some proxy here.
Sure.
Victoria is off on vacation, but one of the requests is, can you please let them draw down on their contingency fund to cover the cost of the increase of benches so they can still have 6, because they can only afford 3.
Yeah, I mean, if this is getting the thing built out correctly, then it's I'll support it. I guess bleachers might have been a typo because we got seating for the people watching the game.
Yes.
Right, right.
It depends. The way team they could stand up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to create a home field advantage around here.
Welcome to Northtown.
Yeah, stand. Okay, further council member questions.
I was going to just say, Victoria did mention that in the process of value engineering and scraping and cutting things out, these are kind of the 2 items that sort of got overlooked. And the pitching mound was super important, and then of course the dugout benches. So.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second, further council member discussion. Seeing none, all in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Not.
Gonna gavel her.
Number 26, approving accounts due and payable by the city through April 15th, 2022. Bill number 7679, ordinance number 9476.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through April 15th, 2022.
I move that bill number 7679 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9476.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Palumbi?
Yes.
Councilmember Graves?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Tull?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Bailey?
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through April 15th, 2022.
That leaves us at staff comments. Oh, well, it's conferring. Any comments from staff? Any public comment?
Yes, I had a few things this evening. Just wanted to call attention to this Saturday, April 23rd, from 9 to noon. The city is going to do their annual Shred It event. So people can bring up boxes of papers, and we'll be able to pass that on to Shred It for shredding, to actually shred it right there in the parking lot. And then also springing off tonight's proclamation for Arbor Day. Arbor Day is the last Friday in April, and North Kansas City is designated a tree city. Starting that Thursday and Friday, so the 28th and the 29th at City Hall, we'll be giving away saplings to anyone who would like to come get one. They also come with kind of care instructions and the kind of instructions on where to plant a tree and where not to plant a tree. That's all I had.
Further staff comments.
So I have just a couple of items. Number one is our first Citizens Academy class is getting underway on this Thursday. As you guys know, as the city council knows, we have been working on this for quite some time. It's had a couple of stumbling blocks due to a massive pandemic we didn't expect in the original timeline. So we are very excited to host that initial class of 16 people. Councilmember Clark, I'm going to assume that you're going to talk about the River Forest Park items. We will have a couple of surveys that are coming up for the North Kansas City community to provide feedback. One of them is going to be the streetcar feasibility study. That public survey is still underway. The streetcar authority is still working on refining that, but we will be pushing that out as soon as we have that ready for people to be able to take. And another one is the River Forest Park one. So as soon as those surveys are ready for the public to provide input, we will be pushing that out via the city communication channels, and we would love for the council to help us get the word out.
All right, see, Anthony's getting good now. I don't have to call him if he just says something to begin with. Anything from the police department this evening? All right, all right. I was put up to that, by the way, I just got to say. Okay. Councilmember comments. We will kick off tonight with Councilmember Roberts.
All right. First, Mike, congrats on your first meeting. Welcome to the party. It's good to have you here. I'd like to just say, Kim, I wish we could all be as excited as you are about everything you do. You just talked about the Citizens Academy with like the utmost excitement at almost 9 o'clock after working a full day, and it's very impressive. I don't know how you do it or what you're on. Secondly, the Diamond one is looking great. It's so close to being done, and I walk my dog in the park every day, and it's just getting so quickly done so fast, and it looks just incredible. It's a great addition to the park. One shameless self-promotion, the biggest film fest in the city is coming next week to Screenland. It's Panic Fest. We're expecting about 200 people from all over the world to be coming. I know we have at least 20 people coming internationally, which is the most we ever had, which is very cool. And they're all staying in our little town here. And then last but not least, we've gone 2 years without one of my favorite days. This Thursday, April 21st, it's National High Five Day, so get them all raised and get ready to be obnoxious. That's all I got.
Councilmember Clark.
Great. Thank you to the community members who attended the open house for River Forest Park on Wednesday, April 13th. There is a survey going live this week is the goal to give further feedback for those that may not have attended and also those that did attend. Thank you to the council and staff for making the time for River Forest Park Share Out meeting in June. And then I also want to clear up some misinformation that seems to be floating around. The feasibility study for River Forest Park does not include any plans for the purchase or removal of any residential homes in North Kansas City or anywhere else. Just want to put that out there. Please share that with your neighbors. Make sure everyone's aware that there are no plans to remove homes to review this park or make it come to life. Thank you.
Councilmember Palumbi.
To kind of echo what Amy said, I was sick, so I didn't get to go to the meeting. But if, there were concerns about homes being taken over to build this park, I would be directly impacted. I literally live there. I don't think that people in our ward, and specifically on my street, would be in favor of this park if that was going to be the case. So thank you, Amy, for clearing that up. Secondly, welcome to Tom Bailey. I hope we did not scare you off today. And then my last thing is thank you to the board members for your continued dedication and volunteer work, because I know that this is not something that you get paid to do, and you volunteer a lot of hours into what you do. And for the hospital board members as well, they put a lot of effort into what they do, and it is a volunteer position. And so we are grateful for all the work that you guys do to dedicate. So I did want to give a special shout out to you guys.
Thank you, Councilmember Graves.
This might be a first, but I talk so much that I got nothing left. So there's no executive sessions. Let's go home.
Councilmember Saper.
Yes, for all those observing Ramadan, good fast to you. And for those celebrating Passover, Chag LePesach.
Thank you, Councilmember Toll.
Zach Clevenger must already be home relaxing. I was going to tell him. It's been a pleasure serving with him for the past 2 years, and welcome to Councilman Bailey. We're happy to have you on council. Thank you to both of the Erics from Bike Walk KC. I'm very excited about e-bikes coming. This grant seems too good to be true, so I'm excited to get on the front end of that before the money runs out, and I'm looking forward to discussing the new terms in our contract. I think we've shown a big show of support for box development. I think that project is exciting. It's up right by where I live, so I'm excited to see it start going up. And then last, but definitely not least, today is my youngest birthday. Asa turned 11 today, so he's watching. Happy birthday, Asa.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith.
Welcome to Michael. Welcome to Tom. Zach, thanks for sticking around for a third of the meeting and eating a cupcake and then peacing out. And it is, I believe today is Fountain Day in the city, so if you see the fountains on, they're nice.
Obviously, it's the true mark of the new season.
That's right, yeah.
30 degrees.
30 degrees, freeze warning, fountain day.
Councilmember Bailey.
I'd like to say thank you to the staff for meeting with me last week to try to bring me up to speed. I am still working my way through the binder. It'll take me a minute.
That's just the first one.
That's cruel.
He's right.
It's not right.
That's all he's got. Perfect. That leaves me. Welcome, Mike, to your first meeting. Congratulations, everyone, on your reappointments to the Park Board, and thank you for your dedication to the city, as well as Dr. Herrick as well, and who else? Newly elected official, congratulations, and congratulations to all the re-elected officials. Outside of that, let's go home. We're done. Oh, is there a motion to adjourn? I don't do that. I don't do birthdays.
Happy
No.
birthday, Anthony,
I don't do
and
birthdays.
move to adjourn.
Wait, hold on. Where's the? That's enough. There. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
There's a second. All in favor of adjournment, please say yes.
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 Happy
Opposed, no.
birthday to you.
You had
Meeting
to sing
adjourned.